there's a quote I heard the other day that went like, if when you're on the right path, the whole universe will conspire to help you in your favor, right? And vice versa, when you're on the wrong path, the whole universe will stop you on a long enough time lane, again, and work against you when you're on the right path versus the wrong path. And, I was thinking about that quote, and the guy who made the quote gave a perfect example. He said, let's imagine you're watching a movie and you're watching a story of a prince. And he said, imagine that prince, let's say he wanted a woman and he snapped his fingers. He wanted to be in love, so he snapped his fingers, and someone brought three women to him. And the prince next says, okay, I want myself to be well known. So he orders every musician in the city to make a song about him, right? And then the guy was saying, when you look at a guy like this, do you find yourself rooting for him? Or it's almost like you're rooting against him. When you see a guy like that just snap his fingers and say, I want to be in love, so bring me woman. It's almost like he didn't deserve it. It's almost like you root against people who take stuff and they don't deserve it, and you root for people. Think of that next any movie that you watch, when you see a character go through a lot, go through their hero's journey, and eventually they get the treasure in the end. You find yourself rooting for a guy like that, right? And you find yourself rooting against someone who seemingly has life on a silver platter. He's taking something he doesn't deserve versus someone earning what they deserve, right? It's almost like the universe conspires to help people to get what they earn and works against people who take what they didn't earn, right? Now, there's a popular book that exemplifies this, right? This is from a YouTube video I watched. A guy really broke it down really quick, really in a really good way. Called The Alchemist, right? An Alchemist is a very popular book. Now, The Alchemist basically starts off with a shepherd from Spain, right? He's a very humble shepherd. He doesn't have the most money, right? He sleeps in an abandoned church where the roof, where there's not really like a roof, where there's pieces of the roof missing. And, you know, he, now, the shepherd has a prophetic dream one night that she's finding treasure in Egypt by the pyramids. Keep in mind, he lives in Spain. And after he has this prophetic dream, he begins to see signs. And in the book, they describe it as omens, possibly signs from God, where God is giving him signs that says, hey, the dream that you had is real. I want you to go to Egypt, and I want you to go find this buried treasure. And so, after the guy receives the omens or the signs from God, he decides to embark on this hero's journey. He decides to take a leap of faith and decides he's going to go travel to Egypt, and he's going to go try to find the treasure that God seems to have promised him in this prophetic dream, right? So the guy sells all his sheep, he takes a leap of faith, and he goes to Egypt, right? And the first thing that happens to him is he's robbed of all his gold and he's tricked and he loses everything when he gets to Morocco, right? He goes through his challenges. Now, he finds refuge and begins to work in a crystal shop, and he begins to clean it in exchange for food. So he loses everything, he's dirt poor. You know, he mingles with the locals while he's working the crystal shop. He makes his money, right? He becomes successful, he becomes comfortable. And then once he becomes comfortable in that spot, the universe once again sends him a prophetic dream, these omens, these signs, and say, hey, I know you're comfortable working this crystal shop, but it's time to move on. We're still in this journey, and it is time to move on. So the universe is giving him signs when he's comfortable. He's going through it. He's finding his footing, and then once again, the universe sends him the signs. It is time to go to Egypt and find this treasure that we have ready for you, right? So he decides it's time to move on. It's time to continue his journey. He leaves Morocco, he leaves the crystal shop, and he decides to trek to Egypt, right? He goes through the Sahara Desert, which is really dangerous. There's robbers everywhere. He goes through the desert, and eventually he finds an oasis, right? An oasis with a bunch of people that welcome him. and where there's food, water, people there to welcome him, and he stays there for a little bit. Now, while he stays at this oasis, he gets visions that the oasis is going to be attacked the next day, right? And surely enough, the oasis is attacked by a group of thieves, a group of robbers. Now, when he had the visions, he let the people in the oasis know. The people in the oasis prepared for the attack, they were ready for the attack, and they successfully defended themselves from the attack. Now, after they defended themselves from the attack, they said, "Wow, you really helped us defend us from the attack when you were telling us about the dream. We want to give you status. We want to give you a high position. We want to give you a woman." He fell in love with the woman. "We want to give you this money. We want to take care of you." Once again, the guy felt comfortable. He was given money. He was given status. He was even given a possible wife. And once again, he received the omens. He received the signs from God that you must continue with your hero's journey and you must leave this place, right? So the guy decides to trek it. He decides to continue on his hero's journey. He leaves the oasis and he continues on his journey to the pyramids in Egypt to find the treasure that he keeps having these prophetic dreams of, right? Now, after he moves on, right, he meets a guy referred to as the Alchemist, right? And the Alchemist, basically begins to help him with this final leg of the journey. And he tells him every journey starts with beginner's luck, and every victor is severely tested. He basically says that, in order to get to your final destination, any person who's going to receive some kind of prize and gets to their final destination is always severely tested, right? This is your way of earning anything from the universe, right? So it's something to keep in mind. He gets captured with the alchemist. Eventually, they make the deal with the captors in exchange for transforming into the wind, and he continues on to the pyramids. So once he finally gets into the pyramids, he finds a scarab beetle on a rock, which is one of the omens, the signs of God that God gave him. And he goes to the scarab beetle under the rock and he begins to look for his buried treasure. He's like, okay, this is a sign for the buried treasure, right? It's a scarab beetle. This is where God hid the treasure for me. And he begins to dig. And, a couple Arabs see him by the pyramid and they decide to beat him. And they keep on beating him. They keep on beating him. And, like, why are you digging over here? And he's explaining to the Arabs, he's explaining to the guys in the pyramids, I had a prophetic dream from God that he hid treasure here for me. And I'm here to get the treasure. And the Arabs beat him, and then finally the guy says, stop. And the guy starts laughing, and he's like, you're telling me you went all the way from Spain to Egypt because God gave you a dream that there was treasure hidden here? And he laughed, and he's like, this is so ridiculous. You sound crazy. And then the guy, the Arab, tells the kid, he says, you know what? I also had a prophetic dream, a while ago, that God wanted me to go to Spain and he wanted me to go to an abandoned church that has no roof on it, right near a shepherd's field. And he said there was treasure hidden underneath the church. And he said, I had a crazy dream just like you a while ago. And the kid's laying there, he just got beaten. And the kid starts to laugh. He's not mad. He's laughed at the ridiculousness of it all. And he's like, that's so crazy that you had that dream. And the kid begins to laugh. And at the end of the story, he finally goes all the way back to Spain, back where he landed, in that church where his sheep were, right? Gave it all up, and he begins to dig underneath the church. And sure enough, there is treasure hidden underneath there. So the moral of the story is the treasure was right under his feet the whole time, but he hadn't earned it. He hadn't gone through his hero's journey. God had decided he was not ready to earn his keep, to earn that treasure, right? And the powerfulness, the whole point of the story was not to receive the treasure. The whole point of the story was to go through his transformation, his hero's journey, to go through his hero's journey, to go through the cycle, to go through. And it was the journey that was the benefit. It wasn't necessarily the treasure. The treasure was at the end. It was the journey that led to transformation, that led to him growing, that led to him earning that treasure from God, right? So that's basically the end of the story. And it's a powerful story about karma, uh self transformation, right? The idea of alchemy in itself is about self transformation, right? And the book is called The Alchemist, right? And it's a remarkable story about when you're on the right path, the entire universe will conspire to help you, but you will be severely tested. And that is how God is. Before you receive your victor, before you receive your prize, you have to earn it. You will be severely tested. There is no light without darkness. There is no reward without risk and sacrifice. And every victor is severely tested. So that is the story of the alchemist. It's a powerful story of self-transformation, of karma, that describes a little bit of how the universe works in terms of if you take something and you didn't earn it, something bad is going to be headed your way. And if you earn something and received it, there's you earned it. There's going to be nothing bad headed your way. And it's a powerful story that I think I'd recommend to anyone. I really like the story. I don't really care about reading books. I didn't read the book. I just like the story of the book. And yeah, honestly, it's a really great story and it's a great example of the universe will help you when you're on the right path.